Yes, good morning, Rev. Reverend Toussaint? Where did he go? He's right here. uh, he's right here. Okay. It's rather weird. Rev? Are you?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, is the church being muzzled today? And in the second watch, renewed concerns about gender-based violence in Jamaica. For our social media question, we ask, what are your thoughts about the idea that the church is being muzzled today? Please share your responses on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM, and also on WhatsApp, 876-997-3125, using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
This morning's I quote. Oh, seriously. No one deserves to die, to be hurt, to be injured, to be raped, to be abused, or to be molested by you. No matter what you did for them, no matter how powerful you are, how sexy you are, how rich you are, how right you are, or what they did or did not do to you, and no matter how hurt or broken you are. The philosopher DJ Caius.
A mouthful there. Good morning, Shivani.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing well, my brother. And you?
Good, thank you.
You're doing well. Listen, I understand that you really like calypso music.
What? I tell you.
Why is that?
It's the beat, you just can't keep still. You just have to move.
More than Jamaican music?
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
But I'm a lover of Caribbean music. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And of course, I was listening to that one a while ago. I feel like what?
Hulk. Yeah.
Hulk.
You can move any mountain.
That's how we have to feel as Christians, eh?
Yeah, man. Try and play anything, Yeah, man.
All right. May not to be back after this break.
Look out for the poor. Share a meal. Help a child with a textbook, whatever you can. If you help the poor, you are lending to the Lord, says Proverbs 19, verse 17. Let's work together to make Jamaica a gentler, kinder society. A message from the Church of the Open Bible, 12 Washington Boulevard. Join in our worship service Sundays at 8 a.m. right here on Love 101.
If you're a farmer or a fisher folk, this one's for you. Sagicor Agricare Plan. With Agricare Plan, you can get affordable insurance coverage for you and your family. Life insurance, critical illness coverage, and health insurance for as little as $3,900 every 3 months. Visit your nearest RADA or fisheries office or text Agricare to 876-322-2384 to apply. Farmers and fisher folk, get the insurance coverage your family deserves today with Sagicor Agricare Plan.
Only Flow gives you everything you want in every plan. Unlimited local calls and texts, plus unlimited data for the apps you really want, like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and WhatsApp. No other network comes close. Flow has plans from 2 to 30 days, and every plan has everything you want. Dial *129 *6 numbers and to activate your 7-day plan with everything you want for only $675. Conditions apply.
Here is a reminder from Love 101, the family station, as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Masks are effective only when used in combination with frequent hand cleaning, with soap and water or alcohol-based solutions. Wear a mask that is lined with 2 or more layers. When taking it off, ensure you dispose of it properly. I'm Nigel Wilkinson from Love 101, reminding you to protect yourself while protecting others. Stay safe and keep it locked on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Well, 2 weeks ago, a pastor in Brownstown, St. Anne, was taken into custody for questioning after reportedly posting in social media a series of controversial statements against the Prime Minister and some members of his family. Now, this has sparked much public debate and discussion, with some persons positing the view that this is proof that the church in Jamaica is being muzzled. But is this really so? Well, to discuss these and other related issues, we have online the Reverend Teddy Jones, life coach, public theologian, and Mr. Basil Hanson, founder and CEO of MTM Television, the Caribbean's largest Christian television network. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. Good morning. Morning, Reverend Toussaint.
Yes, good to have you both. Well, gentlemen, before we seek to address the topic directly, tell us what were some of your initial thoughts when you heard that the pastor in Brownstone was taken in for questioning. Beginning with you, Reverend Jones.
Okay, and let me greet the listening audience wherever you are as well. Yeah, so my initial reaction was one of raising several questions. So, based on the wording of the charges that from the initial statement that I saw, I was a bit surprised because I wanted to really know. I wanted immediately to see the exact words that were used by the pastor, because the charge had said that for issuing death threats to the Prime Minister. So I was immediately surprised that I wanted to know. Okay, well, let me hear exactly what was said, because if indeed that's what was said, then of course, by all means, the officers would certainly be well within their rights to proceed as they had proceeded, and I would have been very surprised and disappointed that that was the case. When I saw snippets of the video, and over time, I had I had some concerns as to the exact interpretation of what was said as a direct threat or not. And then, but overall, when all was said and done, I'm still concerned as to how of what was said and the actions that were taken. But we'll get further into that.
Okay, all right, Mr. Hanson, your take on that?
Yes, well, at first, I listened to the video carefully, and I did not hear any threat directly to the Prime Minister's family. What I heard was that the Lord was going to deal with the Prime Minister's family in a particular way. As Pastor Jones says, I don't necessarily agree with how it was said, but there was nothing criminal and nothing for him to be arrested.
As far as you are concerned, of course.
Yes, right. But yes. So I believe we have to take note of that, because if we allow it to get away, then more of us could see our freedom of speech being challenged in these times. So I help to guide the young man, in this regard. And I believe that we have heard worse than that said in this country.
Wait, you have been in touch with him, Mr. Hanson?
Yes, man. I was one who helped to, help him get back the money, and other pastors, have been involved, with him also. And I said it to him that, I would not want him to be speaking at this time, So I have been trying to help to guide him, because, sometimes it's easy to write off people like these and to just get rid of them.
Yeah.
But, and as a Christian community, there are those who have, basically written him off. And I don't believe that is the way to go. And that is not the way Christ taught us. So I am helping to guide him and to mentor him at this time. Because I was once like him, when I was much younger.
Hold on. You would have posted something like that, Mr. Hanson?
Yeah, but those of you who would know me from way back when would have known that I too was a little bit rugged, and until one bishop, my very good friend, Bishop Klein in Tartola, about 10 years ago, he said to me, Basil, let me tell you something. If you give me a chicken that is raw, I am not going to eat it. But you see, if you season up the chicken and, jerk it nicely and give it to me, I will enjoy it. And he said something that has never left my mind, and it has actually changed my life and how I see things and how I do things. He said to me, truth without love is brutal. And so, sometimes we speak the truth, but we don't do it in love. It is not going to accomplish what we really want it to accomplish. And that has changed my life and changed my whole view and how I say things and do things. I still, believe in speaking truth, but I season it up a little bit more. I make it more palatable. So I am trying to say that to this young man that, I don't want you to lose your courage and your bravery, but how you say things, you can say it in a way that people, enjoy it more.
Reverend Jones, when you preach, do you season it up?
Yes, man. Let me put it a little bit differently. Similar to what Bradford said, what that is like. Ed Silvoso, preacher and theologian.
I'm sorry, Reverend Jones, you're going in and out.
Oh, is it?
I don't know what's going on. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Ed Silvoso, a theologian from Latin America, puts it this way. Telling someone the truth without love is like kissing someone when you have bad breath. No matter how good of a kisser you are, all they will remember is your bad breath. Yeah. So very similar.
Very profound. Very profound.
Well, we got some seasoned chicken now to bad breath. Interesting discussion. Continue.
Yeah, man. So it's a serious point, and I'm really happy to hear, Brother Basil, that initiative was taken. But I certainly agree that it's easy to leave our own out in the cold and leave them under the bus.
All right. I'm going to ask you, Reverend Jones, just hold that thought. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Love 101. The family station is now 7:15.
We working on a brighter day, you don't have to fret. You know your family secure, you don't need no stress. It's like you run a 5K, set the pace, win the race, celebrate, and you still never bust no sweat. We see we brother and we sister, this is how we heal them. Easy now, you and guardian life, it's a nation we're building. Many hearts, but we all want the same thing. Live secure and live easy.
Only Flow gives you everything you want in every plan. Unlimited local calls and texts, plus unlimited data for the apps you really want, like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and WhatsApp. No other network comes close. Flow has plans from 2 to 30 days, and every plan has everything you want. Dial *129 *6 number sign to activate your 7-day plan with everything you want for only $675. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. Those of you who had joined us earlier, so maybe wondering if we've been talking about seasoning and kissing, but no, we're talking about the church. Is the church being muzzled in Jamaica today? And we have online Mr. Basil Hanson and the Reverend Teddy Jones. Reverend Jones, before the break, you were telling us about your experience and your views in this regard.
Right, yeah. So I was adding to what Brother Baz was saying about the importance of tempering our words carefully. And, we're human. When we are passionate about something, and rightly so, we have all the fire and the enthusiasm. But one thing there's something that Paul says that has always intrigued me when he said the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. So I hold that in tension with my own observations, reflections on some of the firebrands of the Bible. I look at an Elijah, for example, and I look at a John the Baptist, for example. I mean, John didn't mince words. I look at a Jesus, even, for example. Jesus referred to Herod as a fox. Tell that fox.
Yes.
In Matthew, whitewash the poll card and all of that. So I think it's the two things we have to hold in tension and always to find that temperance and the moderation that I believe the Holy Spirit makes available to us. And there is a time when how we are released to release the statement maybe a bit more rough, cut and rough, and other times when it may be more mellow. But admittedly, I think each of us, none of us, I think that we have arrived where that is concerned. And especially when, like I said, the passion is there and the fire is there. Sometimes in the moment, admittedly, our emotions can get in the way and we can get carried away.
Yeah, but Rev.
We have to be very
yeah, but Rev, where do we draw? Where do we draw the line, though?
Yes.
Where do we draw the line? I mean, if we talk about the passion and all of that, is there a line that is to be drawn where you say, okay, you should not cross this line? This is going too far. Did the gentleman, did the Brownstone pastor cross that line?
Yes. And that's where I said no, as the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet. And it is ultimately our reliance on the Holy Spirit that will help us to, as we carefully sit in what I call the lab of the Spirit and process even the things that we are being told by the Lord and even directed to say, that for one, we exist within the template of the laws of the land. Laws which may not always do not always coincide with the biblical script, but we operate within the template of the laws of the land, and we do have to bear that carefully in mind as well. So we allow ourselves to be guided even in our pronouncement by the laws of the land in terms of how we frame what we say.
Okay, Mr. Hanson, your take on that. How do you draw the line?
Well, for me personally, and this is my opinion, I draw the line where, I mean, respect. When you're communicating, it's just common courtesy. You need to be respectful. I mean, especially the Prime Minister and the leaders of the land. The Bible does say that we should respect our leaders, but you don't have to agree with everything that your leader says.
Hanson, just wondering. Would one person say, I think Reverend Jones said it a while ago, Jesus saying that fox, call the man that fox. Was that respectful of Jesus?
Oh yeah, that was respectful. I mean, if you're a fox, you're a fox. If you're a dog, you're a dog. I mean,
that was respectful. If someone were to say that today of our Prime Minister, that would be a respectful thing?
Oh yeah, Jesus would not disrespect anybody. But if you're a fact, you're a fact. And one other thing I said to the young man, I am not disagreeing with his message because I can't say that his message is not from God. I'm not in a position to say that. What I disagree with him on is how he presents the message. Mm-hmm. The presentation was very poor, right? But it's still not a crime. He has not committed a crime to be dragged and locked up in jail. You understand? So I am not disagreeing with the message because you and I don't know what the Prime Minister, the government leaders are doing underneath the table or
we're not
in
going
private.
there.
We don't know that.
Yeah, we can't assume.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not assuming anything, but we are saying God knows everything. And if God knows and he sees and he decides that he's going to bring down somebody, you can't tell God he can't do it. God will do it whether you say it or not. So I am not disagreeing with his message because I'm not in a position to say God did not tell him. I am disagreeing with the way he presented it. I think it was disrespectful in how he presented the message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How else could... Go ahead, Rev.
Yeah, another passage, another important passage into reflection is Jude, where Jude talks about the attitude of disrespect, even of celestial beings, and he references, albeit an apocryphal text, he references the dispute between Michael and the devil over the body of Moses. And Jude says, even Michael, the archangel, he didn't bring a real accusation against the devil, the devil of all persons.
Yeah.
But he simply said, the Lord rebuke you. Yeah?
So we should not say, I rebuke you. She said, the Lord. That's where you're going, Reverend?
No, we should address the situation and not necessarily the person. Jesus said to it when Peter was acting up, Satan, I rebuke you. He didn't rebuke Peter, but he rebuked the situation what was happening at the time.
Yes.
So I am not in agreement. You can deal with the situation, but not necessarily get personal.
Right.
So I think the presentation of the young man was a bit personal, rather than dealing with the situation that whatever the Lord gave him to give to the Prime Minister. So that is where I take issue.
Yes, Reverend John.
No,
there were similar pronouncements from last year.
Yeah.
This one was the most abrasive, but there were similar pronouncements about the Prime Minister from last year.
And with the expectation to be arrested.
Rev, he did not commit a crime. We have to bear that in mind. So for him to be locked up in jail for what he said, that cannot be acceptable in a democracy. That cannot be.
Yes, Reverend Jones. Yes, Reverend Jones.
Yeah, no, man. I absolutely agree that the burden is now. I don't know if the charge has been thrown out entirely. If he has to go, I don't know. But the burden of proof would have, whichever way, would have laid with the state to establish that he committed a crime based on the statement that he made.
Yes.
In my view, I'm not a lawyer. Let me say that. But in my view, my own interpretation of the law, I certainly agree that he did not commit a crime, and that what happened is a clear case of overreach.
Is the church then, after all is said and done, is the church in Jamaica being muzzled today, Mr. Hanson?
Well, the church from ever since is under attack, and but today we are seeing a more robust attempt to silence the church and to silence certain people, and I'm saying the church cannot be muzzled by government or anybody. The only people can muzzle the church is the church. So I am not sharing the view that anybody can muzzle the church. Nobody can muzzle me. Even if you kill me.
It's an attempt.
Even if you take my life from me, you still don't muzzle me. You understand? So we have to get to that place where we understand that the church is muzzling itself by not speaking and doing what Christ has commissioned us.
Interesting. Reverend Jones, your take?
Yeah. If we are talking locally, I'm not sure that I have seen enough evidence to say that there is a deliberate, intentional, concerted effort to muzzle the church. I'm not there yet. I know we live in a global space. We're in the postmodern age. We're in a post-factual age. And I know that internationally, there certainly is censorship. I mean, I have had instances personally and others on platforms like Facebook and YouTube where content that are absolutely biblical and so on have been reported and have been flagged and have been taken down. So I know that there is censorship at that level. Locally, I see certain. Certainly, if we're reflecting on the measures to contain the pandemic and so on, I'm not at the place where I will frame the response of government along the lines of an attempt to muzzle the church. I don't think I have enough evidence to say that. But like Basil said, I would say we are muzzling ourselves. Even in how we are responding to some of the restrictions, I think we are the ones who are allowing ourselves to be in a situation where it's as if we have no voice. We have a voice. And even if we no longer have one platform, there are multiple other platforms. So insofar as anybody feels like they are not able to speak, I would say it is a self-imposed muzzlement.
And Teddy, just jump in here. The church contributes 7% of GDP, at least 7%. So we're making a contribution, so we should not be muzzled.
Absolutely.
But the way forward then, what would you recommend to future pastors, preachers, prophets, if you want, who believe that they have these strong messages to give to leadership? How should they approach it? How should they bring forth this message in a way that is respectable and acceptable based on the standards of the society? Reverend Jude?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have not done enough of is to allow our ministries to benefit from what I like to refer to as your table of influence. The persons that you have around you that are part of your accountability structure and your guidance and even consultant structure. And I think one addition that we certainly should be thinking of adding now at a very serious level to that table of influence is official legal counsel, a person from the legal fraternity. Because more and more, these kinds of frictions between laws of the land and church teachings, I believe certainly if we accept the statements of Scripture as the end of the age approaches more and more, that we are going to have more and more of those kinds of frictions. And I think we need to add this to those who we consult with. Especially before we make certain public pronouncements, we need to add the legal persons, have our mentors, have our accountability partners that we share certain things with and get their input and advice.
Thank you. I wanted to give Brother Anson the final word, but we're totally out of time. I want to thank you both for joining us this morning, gentlemen. Stay safe, eh?
All right.
Good.
All right.
Keep up
the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
JN Bank Live Online Banking is your quick and easy banking that's safe and secure. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way. The time is
7:30, folks, on the family station Love 101.
Become the hero on the scene by taking the COVID vaccine. Get vaccinated as soon as you get all the facts. Don't listen to the rumors. This vaccine might just make it possible for teachers to sit face to face with schoolers. This vaccine make it safer for everybody, from the young to the elderly. Don't you want to go back to living normally when things were more orderly? And if you want to live a long good life, then we all have to do what's right. So let's get vaccinated along with the heroes on the front line.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Jamaica. Our way of life is being affected, but our path to progress is not. Flow has continued to build its network infrastructure to prepare for times like these, to ensure that your connections to everything important are strong and reliable. And if you are a current Flow Home Service customer, upgraded services may be available in your area. Learning from home is smarter, and working from home is stronger than ever. I am Stephen Price, Country Manager of Flow, and this is our commitment. The strength of the Flow network is yours and ready when you need it. Visit your nearest Flow store or discover flow.co. It is our privilege to serve you.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, what really happened to Pinky, the family of 78-year-old woman that was found dead in St. Elizabeth, seeks answers. And then, Chang pitches ends, ENDS, ends as crime cure. And we see here as well that daycare outrage. Caregiver who whipped 2-year-old stayed in job for weeks, with child care watchdog slow to sanction offender. In the Observer, Sesame Street hunting Jamaican animators. Interested. And then Canadian firm joins forces with local entity in mushroom push. And then finally, we are seeing here that government happy with compliance during weekend lockdowns. Those are some of the major stories, highlights in the newspapers. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and the WhatsApp question. What are your thoughts about the idea that the church is being muzzled today? Leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Have some issues and concerns in your community that you wish could be attended to now? Want a platform to voice those concerns? This could be the place for you. Send your 30-second voice notes describing your issue to 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Be sure to type a voice for hope before sending the voice note. Then listen on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. for a voice for hope. Share the concerns you have seen. You know that street light that has not been working for a long time, or your community has not had water for 2 weeks now? Yes, here's somewhere you can share it. And maybe, just maybe, we can get some love on your situation. Remember now, send a 30-second voice note describing your issue and type a voice for hope before sending your voice note to 876-997-3125. A voice for hope. It's a problem, and we need a solution now. Love 101 FM, the family station, bringing a voice to your situation.
Here is a reminder from Love 101, the family station, as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Be kind to address stigma during this pandemic. Share the latest facts and avoid exaggerating stories. Show solidarity with affected persons and tell the stories of persons who have experienced the virus. I am Kimberly Levy from Love 101, reminding you to protect yourself while protecting others. Stay safe and keep it locked on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Well, as Jamaica continues to grapple with the COVID crisis and the high murder rate, there have been renewed concerns about gender-based violence, especially in light of the fact that a series of women have been killed over the past week. But how does one define and identify gender-based violence? What are its implications and complications? What should be our response to the victims and villains of such violence? Well, to answer these and other related questions, we have joining us Ms. Joy Crawford, Executive Director of E for Life, and the Reverend Peter Espute, Social Commentator. Good morning to you both.
Hi, morning, Dylan.
Morning. Morning.
Morning, Ms. Crawford. Morning, listeners.
Good morning, Peter. Good to have you both. Well, what is your understanding of the term gender-based violence? Beginning with you, Ms. Crawford.
Okay, so gender-based violence is an umbrella term that covers a number of what we see violence around. But the main thing is that it is linked to gender inequality. It also has a component of a denial of human rights of persons. And of course, it's based on power. So whenever there is violence, a quick example, let us say a mother comes in from work late and she has her female daughter and she says, why didn't you do your chores? Don't you know that you have to share the responsibility in the house? Is a 12-hour slave. So she may hit the child. And then that's some kind of violence that occurs within the family. But if the mother comes in and says, why didn't you do your chores? Don't I tell you all the time that you're a girl child, and if you don't learn to wash, cook, clean, when you grow up, your man will beat you. She has now entered into the conversation a gender inequality piece of it. So the child is being taught not to do the chores so that she can become a better person. She's being taught that she must do her chores because the chores will ensure or maybe the cause of her getting a beating from a man simply because she's a girl. So that's one of the easiest ways to understand that we introduce into a scenario that component where there's a power, maleness is more is better or more powerful than femaleness, and or the whole issue about does the girl have a right to speak and to say no, simply because of that issue of the differences. So that's the best way to look at gender-based violence for me when I'm speaking to the community.
So just to get it clear before I throw over to Reverend Espute, your definition is what really, Ms. Crawford? If you could repeat it.
So gender-based violence is violence that's meted out to someone based on their gender identity, their gender roles. There has to be a gender component in it. If not, it becomes other things, violence against women in general because there's war, and or it may become intimate partner violence or domestic violence. But they may not necessarily be gender motivated, but there is a strong gender component in all of those, especially in our culture, and the way that we have socialized our people to see femininity as subservient and or becomes the object as to a reason why someone may actually experience stigma, discrimination, and violence.
Okay. Reverend Espute, your take.
I don't know exactly the question you're asking me, but
I'm asking what is your understanding of the term gender-based violence?
Right. Well, when I went to school, I learned that there were two genders, masculine and feminine. And also in my early days at UWI, there was a branch of academic study called Women's Studies. But I noticed that we don't have women's studies anymore. We have gender studies.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at the content of gender studies, it seems to be the same thing as women's studies. In other words, this word gender has been captured by feminists to apply to women only. So gender-based violence would seem to, is it a synonym for violence against women? I mean to say most violence in Jamaica is against men. I repudiate violence of all sorts. Violence against men, violence against women. But suppose we were to abolish violence against women, then that will only leave violence against men. Would that bother the gender activists who are concerned about violence, gender-based violence?
Are you suggesting that we shouldn't use the term?
I'm suggesting that the term is confusing. You see, the language is one of the important arenas of battle in this modern world. And gender is one of those words which is used in the battle. And I find it confusing. If we want to campaign against violence against women, let's do so. And call it violence against women. If we want to campaign against intimate partner violence, let's do so. I think that's it. I think it's what I'm seeing where girlfriends and wives and so on are being abused. This is absolutely horrendous and needs to be dealt with. But when I hear people talking about gender-based violence, I cringe, because using the word gender is capturing the word to mean women. The fact is that in Jamaica every day there are women who are abused and murdered, but vastly more men are abused and murdered. But the gender-based violence people are not concerned about that. They're only concerned about the women that are.
They're not concerned about that, Reverend?
Well, I haven't heard one gender-based activist raise a voice against the thousands of men every year that are murdered. And I am not by any means the seriousness of violence against women. But if we're trying to combat violence against women, then say so. Let's call it violence against women. Let's call it violence in intimate partner violence. But when you say gender-based violence, then it's marginalizing men again, which is part of the agenda of this thing.
Yeah, let me ask Miss Crawford to respond to that before we take the break. Miss Crawford?
All right. So my first response is that Peter needs to come to one of my sessions that I do in community. Because I acknowledge male experience in violence simply because, again, of their gender expression or the society's gender role. So, for example, the man who experiences discrimination and beating within his family, within his community, within his home, simply because he did not carry out a role. The woman is upset with him because he did not provide.
Do you call it gender-based violence, Miss Crawford?
So it goes both ways. So that I do believe that. I do agree with him that you don't have as much conversation around it, but the conversation needs to be had and needs to be introduced. So in a way, you can't really quarrel. Some of them don't quarrel. Yeah, thoughts. We need to have more people bring their say to the table. So that's what I'd say.
Peter?
Yeah, man.
So are you okay with that response?
Well, I thought you were going to the break and come back.
Yeah,
but I'll happily respond. I mean, I believe that as I say, there has to be great concern in the country about violence against women, and because, but you see, the people in the gender business are concerned about equality for women, and I think everyone is concerned that women must be treated equally as far as pay and status in society and so on is concerned.
We're at that point now, Peter. We're at that point.
But
Irvin.
I think...
We're at that point. We'll take a break.
Okay, all right. Let me finish when I come.
The time by the Ministry of Health, Healthy People, Healthy Environment is
7:45. I'm looking for a new pizza joint with that perfect crust. My car needs a bit of a tune-up, and my pregnant wife needs something from the pharmacy. So I turned to the printed yellow directory, and in an instant, the pizzas are ordered, the oil change is booked, and the thing that I'm not allowed to say out loud has been purchased for my wife. Problem solved. When you need something quick, do yourself a favor. Flip through the printed yellow directory. Stop searching, start finding. Yellow, we know local.
Hey babe, so about that date we planned?
Remember bro G said no movement, you know?
Yeah, but what if we set up a video call on BIP and binge movies together on Playgo instead?
Yeah man, especially cause BIP video call no flow slow.
I know, right? Plus, we can add up to 8 people on the video call.
Even was like a virtual party. Hey, my music playlist well hot enough. Beat Lockdown Blues with Digicel lifestyle apps and dedicated data from your Digicel Prime bundle. Download and activate in the My Digicel app today. Digicel, better together.
Bills to pay and funds to transfer? No problem. I do it all on my time with JN Bank Live Online Banking. It's my simple and secure as that online banking.
Phone credit need a top up? No problem. I do it with JN Bank Live Online Banking.
It's quick and easy with just a few clicks. JN Bank Live, online banking that goes where you go. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank, we'll help you find a way.
You are the buzz, 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 buzz. You are the zing, 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 zing. You are the you are the click, click, click. You are the pop, pop, pop. You are the I in Jamaica. So keep fizzing for the love of it. Pepsi.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we are looking at the whole matter of gender-based violence in Jamaica. We have online Ms. Joy Crawford, Executive Director of E4Life, and Reverend Peter Espiot, Social Commentator. Reverend Espiot, before the break, you were saying?
Yes, I wanted to finish. I certainly believe in gender equality. I'm of that generation that grew up in that with that concern, and but why I want to know, why should we be so extra concerned about violence against women as opposed to violence against men? Doesn't that somehow break the principle that there must be equality between men and women? I certainly am concerned about violence against women. But, you know, if it's because women are supposed to be the weaker sex and must be treated specially, and therefore violence against women is...
What does that mean, Reverend Espiot?
Let me finish the sentence.
All right.
That violence against women is more serious than violence against men. It means that women are not equal to men, that somehow women are better than men. And I am a little uncomfortable with the discussion like this. Men and women are equal, and therefore violence against men, which is terrible, is just as serious as violence against women, which is also serious. But this focus on violence against women seems to me to be trying to make women out to be not equal to men, and I repudiate that.
Oh. Ms. Crawford?
May I?
Yes.
Yes. Again, thanks again. There are different types of violence which are manifesting. But from my experience, there are some issues that come specifically from the perceived socially defined expectations of men and women and how they interrelate. And it's specific to this issue about imbalance and power differences. I've had many conversations both with men and women. And like I said again too, I am very clear that both men and women experience the concept of how they experience violence when they step outside of what we have set up. So we have set up conversations around what the church says man and woman relationship should look like, and the head and the body and who is in charge of who. We have institutional rules that set up our society and that creates this institutional imbalance. We have conversations in our households. We know it. We're from the era where the boys are allowed to go outside. I remember one gentleman saying that he wished he was a girl because he was allowed to play. His sisters were kept inside because of their differences of their sex. And now he felt like his sisters had gone academically further than him. But we do have within our culture, within our several aspects of how we show up, that creates this imbalance that eventually nurtures and facilitates. And remember, we're not talking about just violence of physical violence. There are aspects of the violence that women experience, or females, or men who are seen as lesser than they show up. Emotional, physical violence. So we call, for example, the man woman because she grows a beard and because of that she expressed simply because of it, not because of any other reason. So there is a permeating violence. A man who has a high pitched voice is considered less of a male.
Yes.
So these characteristics are there, and we cannot deny that there are some violence that are directly related to how as is that are socially defined expectations. They are there.
Yes. Reverend Escute, on Easter Sunday last, the Anglican Bishop, Reverend Dr. Howard Gregory, reportedly called for the Christian church in Jamaica to accept that some of its practices are used to justify violence against women. Your view?
I saw that. I saw his concern. And I have no doubt that there is no institution in the country that is innocent of perpetrating inequality of one kind or another. Because inequality is with us, you know. And I'm sure that everyone would agree that inequality is not just about sameness, because men and women are not the same.
Mm-hmm.
They are equal in the eyes of God and before the law.
Mm-hmm.
But men and women are not the same. Men cannot bear children.
Mm-hmm.
And so men will have to live with that deficit. And women are, you can't put men and women to run in the same 100 meters race, because physically, men and women have different physical capabilities. And so let us not confuse sameness with equality. Men and women are not the same,
mm-hmm.
and should never be required to be the same. But they should. The church makes a distinction between men and women. Often, I am, I don't think that we need to go into any great theological discussion here. The fact of the matter is that women are treated differently than men in church, in many churches. But whether this is a cause of violence against women, I mean, women want, in the past, not necessarily today, wanted men to open doors for them, car doors and doors to rooms and houses, because one is not quite sure why. One is not sure whether the gender activists still wish this treatment, because it would somehow suggest that women are special and different, in a way that they don't wish to be. I have opened doors for women and was told, why are you doing that? I think the question of gender relations is being rewritten, and this is important. And I use the word gender there in its proper meaning. The relations between men and women. The rules for that are being rewritten, and rightly so. Because if men and women are really equal, then why should there be special treatment for women? And this concern about gender-based violence, meaning violence against women. When people say gender-based violence, they don't mean violence against men, That is never what is meant. It means violence against women. They're capturing the word gender to mean women.
You're going back there.
It marginalizes men. It marginalizes men.
Yeah, but they're going back there though. But I want to move forward in terms of the church.
Yeah.
The Christian church in Jamaica. Are you accepting of the view that was posited by the Reverend Bishop Gregory?
I think that everyone needs to look at themselves and to see whether in fact their practices cause violence. I believe that the church makes a distinction between men and women. I am not sure that distinction causes violence against women.
Okay, all right.
Certainly, creates differences between men and women. But I'm not sure that it causes violence against women.
All right, Peter. Let me get Miss Crawford's view on that.
All right, thank you very much. I'm a little bit more precise about how the things that we set up affect us culturally. So, for example, again, I work with a number of women in situations, and I've worked with men who quote Bible, and they will say that, one of the famous ones is in Ephesians, where it says that wife must submit themselves to their husband.
Yes.
Most times they stop because it actually goes to say, the husband part, then it stop to say, because it goes on to say, as unto the Lord, and that the husband is the head of the wife. But then they stop. But it goes on to say that, there's a responsibility to present her as a bride, that kind of stuff. So people use the Bible. People use, I have women, for example, who don't treat their husbands well because he's a sinner. And so we have these because he doesn't come to the same church. So we do have the church as an institution that propagated ideas that people now take, and then they take these ideas and they carry out. So the church itself is not necessarily actually in some cases their rules does that. But people who attend church, people who buy into it, use that as the justification to carry out the abuse, whether it be man to woman or woman to man. So it is a problem, and because it comes from what we've seen as the central authority of morality, it's very difficult sometimes to address it.
So it's a matter oftentimes of interpretation and application, right?
Yeah.
Ms. Crawford. Before you go though, I must throw this in the mix. We have 1 minute, Ms. Crawford. There's a view out there that there are females who actually believe and say that if he doesn't beat me, he doesn't love me.
Again,
your take.
Socially defined culture issues, how we teach, how we nurture, and how we define. There are a number of things that we must address around, as it says, how male and women interface and how we define our relationships. That is at the heart of what we see in a lot of situations. We have to address it.
All right. Peter, you have the last word.
I think that the Jamaica as a society is too violent. We don't respect each other. Men don't respect men. Women don't respect women, and all combinations of that. And I think that it's time for us all to come together to try our best to eradicate violence of all forms, because we're all equal, and therefore we must be equally concerned about all types of violence.
Okay. All right. I want to thank you both for joining us. An interesting discussion. Stay safe, please. God bless you.
Yes, all the best. Same to you.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us this morning. For information how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been The Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guest. I'm Dylan Toussaint, reminding you to be purposeful, faithful, thankful, and watchful as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.